Global royal obsession. Princess Leonor 2025 lavished wedding inspires new bridal dreams. The morning sun over Madrid was golden, soft, almost ceremonial. Spain had been waiting, not just for a wedding, but for a symbol. A new chapter. Princess Leonor, heir to the Spanish throne, had long carried the hopes of a nation. But on this day, as cathedral bells echoed through the streets, she wasn't just a royal. She was a bride, radiant, human, and breathtakingly real. Crowds filled the plazas hours before dawn. From Barcelona to Seville, people watched on screens, waving flags, whispering prayers. And yet, even in this sea of royal anticipation, there was something different, something global. From London to Copenhagen, from New York to Tokyo, the world tuned in. This wasn't just Spain's royal wedding. It was the royal wedding of a generation. What made it so magnetic? It wasn't just the grandeur, or the guest list glittering with monarchs. It was Leonor herself, the poised young woman who had grown before the world's eyes, now stepping into destiny with grace. And when she finally appeared at the palace gates, the breath of a nation caught. Her gown, whispered about for months, was unveiled. Not crafted by a predictable designer, but a collaboration between Spanish artisans and Danish couture masters. An homage to tradition, a rebellion of modernity. It shimmered in shades of pearl and moonlight, each bead hand-stitched by women from Leon, her birthplace. The veil, 12 meters long, embroidered with royal insignias and hidden symbols of love. And at her heart, a single sapphire, the same jewel Queen Letizia once wore the day Leonor was christened. Fashion critics called it the rebirth of European bridal design. Designers from Paris to Milan began sketching the Leonor silhouette. Brides across continents wanted that look, modest yet majestic, traditional yet timeless. It wasn't just a dress. It was a statement that elegance could still feel pure. That royalty could still feel human. And when she turned to face the aisle, you could feel the shift. The sound of history, quietly changing. Standing at the altar was the man who had captured the heart of a princess. No tabloid scandal, no secret betrayal, just quiet devotion, tested by distance, by duty, by the crown itself. Rumors swirled for months that he wasn't royal enough. That palace insiders doubted his background. But Leonor had chosen love over expectation, and Spain adored her for it. Their story began not in a ballroom, but during a state youth program years earlier. Two young leaders from neighboring countries, bound by friendship and fate. He saw not a crown, but a woman. And she saw not a title, but a heart that made her laugh. Now, before kings and queens, presidents and popes, they said their vows. Words soft, yet heavy with meaning. It wasn't grandeur that moved people. It was sincerity. When Leonor's voice trembled, Queen Letizia wept openly. A rare, unguarded moment that melted even the most stoic hearts in the crowd. As the cathedral doors opened and the couple stepped into the sunlight, the crowd erupted, not with noise, but with awe. It was as if time itself had paused. Confetti drifted through the air like snow. Bells rang across Madrid. In homes, cafes, and plazas, strangers embraced. Because in that instant, amid wars, politics, and division, love felt powerful again. Social media exploded. Millions posted, not out of obsession, but inspiration. The hashtag, Leonor Effect, trended in over 30 countries within hours. Every frame, every smile, became a symbol of hope. Wedding planners reported a surge in royal-inspired themes. Designers started entire collections in her honor. Even florists couldn't keep up with the sudden demand for her wedding blooms, white camellias, her mother's favorite. It wasn't vanity. It was vision, the rediscovery of what love could look like in an age of noise. Behind the palace gates, however, emotion ran deep. King Felipe stood proud, but behind his smile was the heart of a father letting go. Queen Letizia, once criticized for being too modern, too bold, was now the mother of a queen in waiting. Infanta Sofia, Leonor's sister, watched with a mix of pride and awe. The cameras captured a subtle moment, Leonor reaching for her sister's hand during the vows. A simple gesture, but one that said everything. That even in the grandeur of monarchy, family mattered most. That moment went viral. People called it the human heartbeat of the crown. And later, during the private reception, Leonor's toast sealed it. She raised her glass and said, "To love, the one duty no crown can command, and the one gift no title can outshine." The applause was endless. Even foreign royals were seen wiping tears. Weeks later, Spain was still glowing. Tourism surged. Local designers saw record orders. But more than that, young people began to speak of royalty differently. Leonor had become not just a princess, but a symbol of grace, leadership, and love without pretense. Her wedding was more than ceremony, it was a message. Around the world, bridal trends began echoing her influence. Simpler silhouettes, emotional storytelling, heritage fabrics. Her name became shorthand for timeless beauty. Even Hollywood couldn't resist. Directors pitched scripts inspired by the wedding. Streaming platforms raced to secure documentaries about the event. Because this wasn't fiction. This was the royal fairy tale of the modern era. Long after the cameras left, the palace lights dimmed. Leonor and her husband walked through the gardens of Zarzuela Palace, hand in hand, silent. For the first time that day, they were not monarchs in waiting. They were simply two souls, grateful, humbled, and free. She looked back at the glowing palace windows, whispering, "It all feels like a dream." And he answered, softly, "It's only the beginning. A love story rooted in duty. A future written in devotion. And a moment that reminded the entire world that even in crowns and castles, love remains the most powerful throne of all." Months later, bridal studios across the globe released the Leonor collection. Each design carried a message of hope, inspired by that day in Madrid. But more importantly, women began to dream differently. Not of perfection, but of presence, of love that feels true. In interviews, brides-to-be quoted Leonor's toast. "The one duty no crown can command, love." It became a mantra, crossing borders, cultures, and classes. Because her story was no longer just royal. It was universal. And so, the princess who once carried the destiny of Spain ended up carrying the dreams of a generation. When history remembers Princess Leonor's wedding, it won't just recall the diamonds or the grandeur. It will remember the feeling, the rediscovery of romance in an age of cynicism. A royal moment that reminded the world of something eternal. That fairy tales are not dead. They're simply reborn, in the hearts of those brave enough to believe. Princess Leonor didn't just marry her prince. She married the world's imagination. And somewhere, in every heart that watched,